Hi, I'm Bahar Firoz, an Associate Professor of Dermatology and Mohs Surgery at Rutgers Robert Wood Johnson Medical School. In the general population, there are a number of skin conditions that affect the population, ranging from eczema to psoriasis to warts to acne to moles to nail conditions and finally skin cancer. The good news is that some of these diseases are preventable, and others, unfortunately, we just have to deal with as they arise. The patient can really have some control over these exposures. For example, avoiding too much sun exposure, avoiding smoking can really reduce the risk of skin cancer, and avoiding certain environmental allergens can reduce eczema. Sun damage is caused by ultraviolet or UV radiation, which is made up of UVA and UVB. So we know that sun exposure is the largest factor for development of skin cancer later in life, but the most crucial time is in childhood because only one blistering sunburn as a child can dramatically raise the risk of skin cancer later on. Sun damage is cumulative, so each additional day in the sun adds to your risk. A handful of intense blistering sunburns can be as damaging to the skin as daily exposure to the sun over many years. There are many things one can do to limit their sun exposure, whether it's using the right clothing, applying sunscreen, or generally avoiding the sun. We recommend shifting outdoor activities to the early morning or dusk in order to avoid those intense sun hours between 11 a.m. and 3 p.m., and also avoiding too many hours in the sun on one day. SPF, or sun protection factor, is a rating system used to distinguish sunscreen products. SPF is really a time measurement in a sense because if it normally takes somebody 10 minutes to burn if they're on the beach with no protection, an SPF of 45 will theoretically take somebody 45 times longer to burn. An SPF of 30 will cover 97% of the sun's rays. SPF 45 will cover about 99%. Any SPFs over 45 offer minimal improvement. When choosing a sunscreen, look for something broad spectrum, which involves UVA and UVB coverage. It's important to apply enough sunscreen to provide for adequate coverage, which means a quarter-sized amount of sunscreen for every palm-sized area of your body. Apply sunscreen with enough time to allow it to soak in before starting your sun exposure or your activity. It's also important to reapply sunscreen because sweating or going in the water, it wears off, so we usually recommend reapplication of sunscreen every 2 to 3 hours when outside. If you're going to be in the water, most sunscreens will need to be reapplied between 40 to 90 minutes. Sunscreens can be made up of chemical blockers or physical blockers. Chemical blockers absorb the sun and convert it, whereas physical blockers lay on top of the skin and physically block out the rays. Physical blockers are a great choice for babies and children because they tend to be less irritating to the skin. Common components of physical blockers include titanium oxide and zinc oxide. Zinc oxide has a characteristic white tint that we often associate with lifeguards. Proper use of sunscreen involves applying it liberally, applying it in advance, and reapplying it when necessary. It has been my pleasure to speak to you today, and I hope what we've discussed has been useful and allows you to enjoy the outdoors in a safe and responsible way.